Hello and welcome. I'm Ananya Datta and you're watching Race to Power. Let's start talking politics. France remains our top story. Emmanuel Macron has rejected the prime ministerial candidate of the leftist alliance. He says institutional stability is important to France. But what about political instability? We decode. Over in India, a gruesome case of rape and killing has brought people onto the streets. The march is now calling for the West Bengal Chief Minister to resign immediately. August 27th marks 42 days since French President Emmanuel Macron accepted the resignation of former Prime Minister Gabriel Attal's government. However, Paris is still waiting for a new government to take over. This as the political stalemate over who will hold the reins of power continues, and there seems to be no end in sight and no person in sight. On Monday, Macron rejected to agree to a government led by the left-wing New Popular Front Alliance, or the NFP. It won the most seats in last month's legislative election and has proposed Lucie Castet, a little-known civil servant, for the post. Well, Macron said France needed institutional stability and the left could not win a confidence vote in the parliament. In a display of protest, France's socialists and Greens have decided not to participate in further talks with Macron to find a way out of political deadlock. Not only this, their leaders have called on supporters to hold peaceful protests instead. Green Party chief Marie Tondelier told a local radio that this election is being stolen from them. Meanwhile, Socialist Party president told France 24 television that he would not engage in what he called a parody of democracy. Now the prospect of a leftist-led government was off the table. In the latest, Macron has held a new round of consultations with political groups earlier today after 2 days of failed talks. However, the president again appears to be back on square one, as each of the three groupings have ruled out forming a coalition. The June 30th and July 7th snap elections resulted in a political stalemate as no group emerged with a clear majority to win an outright majority. A party or coalition needed to secure at least 289 of the National Assembly's 577 seats. The New Popular Front secured 188 seats. Macron's centrist Ensemble Alliance stood second at 160. And the far-right National Rally, surprisingly, came in third with 140 seats. Now, Georgia was one state that made headlines long after the 2020 US presidential elections. After voting in red for 6 consecutive elections, Joe Biden had managed to flip the state blue, but by less than 12,000 votes. Till today, Donald J. Trump claims that the Democrats stole the election in Georgia. So with just 70 days to go for presidential elections, the swing state is back in the news, and this time for its own election rule. Georgia's State Election Board has adopted a new rule that allows officials to refuse to clarify and certify an election. What this means is that some local election boards can choose to refuse to certify the results, and the immediate after effect would be a delay in finalizing poll results. The state and National Democratic parties have sued the state board for this, and they are arguing that the rules violate an existing law that makes certification a mandatory duty and not a choice. Democrats further accuse the body of exceeding its legal authority. Georgia's State Election Board is now dominated by allies of Trump, and those in support are arguing that County Election Board is just fulfilling its duty, noting that each board member must swear an oath to compile quote-unquote truth and perfect results. Georgia is one of the most heated political battleground states in this election. Democratic presidential duo Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are going to be in the state this week. And Georgia was one of the first stops by Trump and J.D. Vance after the Republican convention.
I'm J.D. Vance. I'm running for vice president this year.
Okay.
We're going to do 2 dozen.
Okay.
And understandably so, because look at how Georgia has voted in the last 5 elections. If we start with 2020, we can see that the blue camp got 49.5% and the red camp got 49.3%. That's just a 0.2% difference. Remember, as we told you, Joe Biden flipped the state to blue after 6 consecutive losses for the Democrats. Then if we could move on to 2016, the blue camp, which is the Democrats, won 45.6%. And the Republicans got 50.8%, and that's a 5.2% margin. And that was, of course, Donald Trump winning Georgia's election that year. Then moving on to 2012, Democrats were at 45.5%, Republicans were at 53.3%. That's a 7.8% margin, and 2008 saw Democrats at 47% with Republicans at 52.2%, and that's a 5.2% difference. Lastly, there's 2004 where Democrats won 41.4% and Republicans won 58%. Now, that's the largest difference we have seen. That's of 16.6%. Remember, the year 2004 was the same year that George W. Bush won the re-election, and Georgia definitely contributed to that win.
Right there, go right there in the early basket on the table. Thank you. Thank you.
Let's go across to France, where we, as we told you in the beginning of our broadcast, a political deadlock continues. As Emmanuel Macron says that the prime ministerial candidate fronted by the leftist alliance has been rejected, and he has said that institutional stability in France is more important, something that the leftist alliance cannot provide. And to take this discussion further, we are being joined by Anne-Elisabeth Moutet from Paris. She's a columnist at the London Telegraph and specializes in international affairs. Ms. Moutet, thank you so much for joining us here on WION.
Thank you.
You know, all the experts we have been speaking to since last week has been optimistic, rather, at this point, that France might see a new prime minister this week. But as Emmanuel Macron himself said that France needs political, rather institutional stability in the country, how are you seeing this?
I think we will eventually have a prime minister, but I'm not that optimistic that it will go fast, because essentially what Emmanuel Macron is doing is exhausting every possibility until there begins to be a consensus between practically most of the moderate parties, I would say, from the center-left to the center-right, with including the Républicain Party, but not those who joined the small splinter that joined the National Rally. And on the left, any party of the new Popular Front would be acceptable on the condition that they separate from France Unbowed. And it's not done yet. It's also, of course, not being received well at all by France Unbowed and the new Popular Front, who say that it's not for him to decide. And he says that the Constitution gives the French President of the Republic enough powers that, yes, it is for him to decide.
Absolutely. And Ms. Moutet, that's exactly what I want to speak about. Given how polarized not just France, but the entire world is becoming, do you think it is time for Paris to retrospect its rule of giving so much of power, political power, to the president?
Well, it's a discussion to be had at one stage, but it certainly is not a discussion to be had right now that we are in a crisis, because France Unbowed has got very sort of strange ways of saying that they're right. The new Popular Front has got 193 MPs. And within that, the France Unbowed has got a plurality but not a majority, and if the Socialists and the Greens and the few Communists allied, they would have more power than Jean-Luc Mélenchon's France Unbowed would have. And yet they are the ones who've been setting the pace, writing the platform, imposing their law, and now calling for demonstrations in the streets. Now is not the time to give less power to the president, because it is very easy to criticize Emmanuel Macron. I myself have been doing many times. But in front of him, he's got a party who never were victorious, who have polled fewer votes, even the bloc of the left, including the Socialists and the others, not just France Unbowed, polled about 7 million votes in the second round of the elections, whereas the National Rally polled over 10 million, and Macron's party at the centre polled 6.7%. Right. They do not have a majority, and yet they have been saying that they have a majority all the time.
All right, Ms. Mute, thank you so much for joining us here on WION and getting us your insights.
Thank you.
Let's focus now in India. People are once again on the streets of Kolkata in West Bengal as the outrage grows over the rape and murder case of trainee doctor of RG Kar College. Demonstrators are demanding the resignation of West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee. The streets of Howrah turned into a battle zone as police fired water cannons and tear gas shells to disperse the student protesters as they tried to break the barricades. Demonstrators also gathered at the Howrah Bridge. Many climbed atop police barricades and clashed with the security forces. Some of the protesters were also seen throwing stones towards the cops as the police fired water cannons to disperse the crowd from the iconic Howrah Bridge. The old man on your screens was seen braving the water cannons and waving the Indian national flag. Students were seen marching towards the secretariat in Howrah. The protest is being organized by student outfits. Demonstrators broke through the iron barricade set up on their route leading to the secretariat, which resulted in baton charge by the police. Politics is also peaking with the BJP, which is in opposition in backing the protests and is seeking the resignation of the state chief minister, while the ruling party TMC says the protests are politically motivated. According to Kolkata police, the student outfit was not given permission to organize the protests. The BJP has given the call for a 12-hour strike in West Bengal tomorrow to protest the police action. The state of West Bengal has been rocked by massive protests, not only by student bodies but also political parties. Leader of opposition in West Bengal Assembly alleged that police resorted to brutal repression on peaceful participants of the rally.
Police failed, water cannon failed, tear gas shell fell, lathi charge fell, everything fell. Now agitation going on in front of Nabarno in Hastings area. 35 to 40,000 people, they assembled in College Square, they marched to the Nabarno. I would like to the Kolkata police and as well as Bengal police, please stop atrocity in Hastings area. Otherwise, a bad consequence will face.
Senior TMC leader Kunal Ghosh accused the BJP of backing the rally by the student outfit and using it to create disturbances in the state.
कल बंगाल बंद का कॉल दिया, वो तो पूरा फ्लॉप होगा. आज का उसका वो गुंडागर्दी, लेकिन बेसिकली फ्लॉप है, इसीलिए तो गुंडागर्दी किया. कहीं पर स्टेज नहीं था, कोई लीडर का भाषण का अरेंजमेंट नहीं था, सिर्फ सोशल मीडिया में प्रोवोकेशन देकर चलो बैरिकेड भांगो और घुस जाओ नवान्न में. ये गुंडागर्दी है, ये पॉलिटिकल मूवमेंट नहीं है, ये इसका साथ जस्टिस का कोई संबंध नहीं है।
The main accused in the rape and murder case, Sanjay Roy, is currently lodged in the Kolkata's Presidency jail, where he was subjected to a lie detector test by the CBI on Sunday. The CBI conducted a second round of polygraph tests on the former principal of RG Kar Medical College and Hospital in connection with the murder case, while an FIR has also been registered against him for corruption. Now, staying with India, over 100 candidates have filed nominations across Jammu and Kashmir for the upcoming first phase of assembly elections in the Union Territory. The National Conference, Congress, PDP and BJP leaders arrived at nomination centres with their cadres.
Former Chief Minister Umar Abdullah accompanied Senior National Conference leader Altaf Kallu as he filed his nomination for the upcoming assembly election from Pahalgam constituency. Hundreds of people rallied behind the leaders as they walked towards the RO's office. Jammu Kashmir National Conference President Dr. Farooq Abdullah joined senior leader Hasnain Masoodi as he officially filed his nomination for the Pampore constituency. The National Conference also took out the second list of candidates today, which included the name of Party Vice President Umar Abdullah. He'll be fighting from the Ganderbal constituency.
कांग्रेस के साथ हमने जो सीट शेयरिंग किया है उसमें तो हम पूरी तरह से मुतमईन हैं कि मेजॉरिटी हमारी आएगी।
PDP President Mehbooba Mufti accompanied her daughter Iltija Mufti, a first-timer who filed her nomination from the Bijbehara constituency. Mehbooba Mufti is likely to stay away from fighting this assembly elections.
महबूबा जी और मुफ्ती साहब ने भी अपना सियासी कदम, पहला कदम यहीं पे रखा, तो टुडे इज अ वेरी इमोशनल मोमेंट फॉर मी एंड आई एम ट्रूली ऑनर्ड। हमारे लिए बहुत इमोशनल और पॉइगनेंट मोमेंट था एंड आज मैं मुफ्ती साहब को बहुत मिस कर रही हूँ।
In a big development, former Jamaat-e-Islami members have filed their nominations. The outfit was banned by the Home Ministry. Former members have started coming into mainstream to fight the assembly elections now. In South Kashmir's Kulgam district, Nazir Ahmed Butt, a former member of Jamaat-e-Islami, filed his nomination for the Devsar Assembly constituency.
इधर बहुत नाइंसाफी हो रही थी। मेरे दो भांजे, ये पिछले साल की बात है, मेरे दो भांजे वो उनके बाग के बीचों बीच सड़ूर में वो सड़क ले ली गई जबरदस्ती, तो उनको अरेस्ट किया गया। तो मैं बहुत नेताओं के पास गया, किसी ने कोई रिस्पांस नहीं दिया। मैंने सोचा ये वो बच्चे यतीम थे, तो उसी वक्त मेरे जहन में आ गया कि क्यों ना मैं भी लोगों की खिदमत करूं।
However, Umar Abdullah took a dig at Jamaat and said that till now contesting elections was haram for the Jamaat-e-Islami, but now it's halal.
अभी तक तो हमें कहा जा रहा था कि इलेक्शन हराम है। अब चलिए, अच्छी बात है, देर आए दुरुस्त आए। अब इलेक्शन जो है वो हलाल है और इसमें हर किसी को अब शिरकत करने की जो है बात की जा रही है। हम तो चाहते थे कि उनके ऊपर जो बैन लगा हुआ है वो बैन उठे और वो अपने पार्टी और सिंबल पे आए, लेकिन बदकिस्मती से दिल्ली में वो फैसला हुआ नहीं।
Jammu and Kashmir is going to polls in 3 phases starting on September 18th. The counting will be on October 4th. Hundreds of candidates have filed nominations for the first phase of assembly elections in Jammu and Kashmir. But what was most unique was the former members of the banned organization Jamaat-e-Islami also filing nominations. Jamaat-e-Islami members tried hard to get the ban lifted, but since that didn't happen, now they've started filing nominations independently across various districts of Jammu and Kashmir. With video journalist Feroz Idris Lone for WION World is One.
Let's focus now. Sri Lanka is set to hold presidential elections on 21st of September. This will be the first presidential poll after the ouster of Gotabaya Rajapaksa in 2022. A total of 39 candidates, that's a record in Sri Lanka, are in the fray for the top job. Three top runners in this cluttered contest of Sri Lanka's presidency are National People's Power Coalition or NPP candidate Anurakumara Dissanayaka, sitting President Ranil Wickremesinghe, and the leader of the opposition, Sajith Premadasa. Namal Rajapaksa, the eldest son of Gotabaya Rajapaksa, is also in the context. The NPP has emerged as a strong force in this contest, using populist agendas like tax cuts and reverting the country to British-style Westminster model of governance. Sri Lanka is still recovering after the economic meltdown in 2022, which resulted in the ouster of Rajapaksa. President Ranil Wickremesinghe is banking on a $2.9 million IMF bailout loan to stabilize the economy. On the other side, Dissanayaka has vowed to renegotiate that deal with the IMF.
We believe there could have been another alternative. But now all the bilateral and multilateral agreements have been placed inside the IMF basket. We can't come out from that, but we will have a discussion with them. Primarily, our stance is that more attention should be paid to the hardships faced by the people when moving forward with the IMF program.
Dissanayaka leads the People's Liberation Front, which led to armed insurgencies in 1971 and 1987 before taking the political route. His presidential bid in 2019 general elections ended with third place and only 3% of the vote. But this time around, more than 10% of new voters will hold the key to power for candidates. Meanwhile, age-old question of Tamil autonomy has also resurfaced. Tamil Nationalist Party has launched a campaign to boycott the elections. TNP, along with TNFP, has demanded a federal setup for the political autonomy of Tamils. Now, Iran's political landscape continues to experience winds of change. Barely a month after the appointment of pro-reformist Mohammad Pezeshkian as its president, the Shia-dominated country is set to get its first ever Sunni member of the parliament. President Pezeshkian has appointed lawmaker Hussein Zadeh as his deputy for rural development and unprivileged areas. It makes Hussein Zadeh the first ever Sunni cabinet member in an Iranian government since the Islamic Republic came to power in 1979. A vocal backer of Sunni rights, the 44-year-old lawmaker has been representing the northwestern cities of Nakhade and also Oshnave in the parliament since 2012. And as per Pezeshkian, Hussein Zadeh has been tasked with enhancing the living conditions in villages and improving the indicators of rural development. Pezeshkian sought to form a quote-unquote national unity government after winning the July 5th runoff presidential election. However, he came under fire for failing to include members of underrepresented groups in his proposed ministerial picks earlier this month. And this included Sunni Muslims. In a first since 2001, all 19 ministerial nominees were approved by the conservative-dominated parliament last week. According to the government estimates, Sunni Muslims make up around 5 to 10% of the population in the Shia-majority Iran. They have very rarely held key posts since the 1979 Islamic Revolution. Pezeshkian's cabinet also includes 3 women, including Rhodes Minister, and she is the only second woman in the Islamic Republic's history to be named a minister. And with that, we are wrapping up this edition of Race to Power. Thanks for watching with me, Ananya Datta.
Namaste. Hello friends. We did Dr. Subhash Chandra Show, popularly known as DSC Show, for 4 years from August 2014 to August 2018. 28 states of Bharat. Of course, we reached out to all of you in 190 countries across the world. The show was very successful. Each episode was being watched by almost 25 million people every week. For past 6 years, the demand of the show has never died down. People write to us, people ask for the show to restart again. Hence, we are beginning the show once again on All Z Network, also on WION, which is the global network channel from India. Again, thank you for your love and affection. See you soon at Subhash Chandra Show.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at yoursarthi@such.org.in.
WION Health Resort is unique, the only one of its kind. Experience the 4 paths of natural wellness: yoga, Ayurveda, acupuncture, and naturopathy. Each uniquely customized program improves the whole person to make every person whole. Come to WION Health Resort. Make your reservation at yowon.com.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION, World is One.